Hey, what's up, guys? This is Cody the Coin Raptor, and welcome to my channel. I'm here to provide you the best crypto content that you can find, and we're starting here with this Glassnode on-chain report. And the reason I want to start at this report is because it's very important when we take a look at the Chart TA, and I definitely recommend you guys come take a look at this. They do this report every single week. Now, the thing I want you to pay attention to is this chart right here. This is trend accumulation score, and it shows you what area that the whales and shrimps are accumulating Bitcoin in. And so what I mean by that is the shrimps are defined as people with less than a Bitcoin, and the whales are defined as people with or accounts with over 10,000 Bitcoin. So if you take a look at this chart here, you can see that the blue here is highest accumulation, so more buying, and the red is the lowest accumulation, so not as heavy buying. And so what you see here is there is a section, they call it phase A, that has a very heavy accumulation. This is generally between mid-June and all the way up until about the end of July. So in that area, you saw a very heavy accumulation of Bitcoin, very heavy accumulation by both the shrimps and the whales. So they were buying here, okay? And then we take a look at what they call phase B. All right, and now in phase B you can see is a much lighter color for the shrimps, much lighter color. It's almost white. And then you look at the whales here at the top. It is first light, and then it's incredibly red. And then you can also take a look at the bands here in between the shrimps and the whales, and this is all very red. All right. So what does this mean? What this means is that at some point, both the shrimps and the whales and everybody in between decided to stop buying as much Bitcoin. All right. Now, the point that has been determined to when they decided they were going to stop buying as much Bitcoin was basically at the end of July and the start of August. And this also coincides with what we call the realized price. All right. So as a quick reminder, the Bitcoin realized price is generally thought of like an average cost basis for the market. And right now it sits at about 21,700. I'm going to show you what this looks like on the chart here. So I drew in this, I have this black line here, this black trend line, and this black trend line represents that Bitcoin realized price. Now, what we can see here is it's almost a perfect dissection of this upper trend line that we have here. And breaking this down into simplest terms, what you're seeing is buyers accumulate under this line, and people not buying as heavy above the line, maybe even selling above the line. Buyers want to buy under the realized price, which is the average cost basis for Bitcoin, okay? So you can see heavy support down here below that line, 21,700, and then much less demand above this amount. Now expect this trend to continue until it doesn't. I'll be paying attention to this trend line right here and give you more information. And if this changes, I'll definitely let you guys know. So what this looks like right now is that we could potentially have another breakdown in the Bitcoin price coming soon, especially if it punches below this support line right here, which is about 20,900 or so. It could definitely punch through this and continue on to 20 and to 19. And I would expect that below those levels, below this level, because they're all below that realized price, that you would see buyers step in, because buyers have been very active, again, below this line, and not very active above the line here. That's my primary takeaway from that entire on-chain analytics, and I think that's very pertinent information. All right, next, we take a look at Ethereum. Ethereum is in the same kind of channel. I drew in the same kind of channel here for Ethereum. However, it's much steeper for Ethereum. Ethereum's also knocking on the absolute bottom here, at the bottom end of this channel. It's already touched that level a few times. And the rule with the support and the resistance is if the more times you touch it, the weaker it gets. So it's already touched that line twice. And if it keeps retesting that support, eventually it's going to break through it. So that's something to watch out here for Ethereum. ETH, I think, has a lot more support, especially when you come down here to about 1300, that 1360 region, this little band right here. That's where you could see strong support if it breaks through this support line right here. Now, I also want to go ahead and show you the dollar index. The dollar index, very important, all right? The dollar index is the measure of the dollar versus other currency. And the measure of the dollar versus other currency is important because Bitcoin tends to trade in inverse with the dollar index. So the dollar index has been on a tear. It has been tearing through this whole line here. There is a resistance here that it just went right through. We actually take a look at the, I'll back it out here to the monthly, and you can see that the dollar index has been on a massive run. And right now it's at multi-year highs. And it's very close to the all-time high, which it briefly wicked up to back in July. And I would expect that, given the strength of the dollar right now, I think it's probably going to wind up breaking through this level, and it's going to continue going. Eventually, at some point, it's going to find a resistance point that it cannot break. But that time, as far as I know, is not now. But that being said, if it comes up here and it fails to break out, let's say let's move this trend line a little bit. If it fails to break out above this trend line and instead comes back down again, that right there is a double top, which is very bearish. That'd be a bearish sign and a very bullish sign for Bitcoin. But that's not a guarantee. I'll be watching this and seeing if that happens. All right, so the first story I want to talk about today is they have 7 South Korean brokerages are planning to start crypto exchanges next year. So this is kind of surprising to me, but it just goes to show you that there is demand in South Korea for cryptocurrency exchanges. And so the fact that we're having 7 of these come online is a great sign for adoption of Bitcoin and the interest that South Korea is showing for Bitcoin. Okay, next, something else I want to talk about here is FTX decided that based on FTX's financials, they may be considering acquiring another company. So according to what this article here on Forbes, people who have looked at the financials, leaked financials, have come to the conclusion that FTX is in buying mode right now. And that shouldn't be surprising to anybody who's paid attention to FTX lately, because they've made strong bids for exchanges such as Voyager, and they also are very interested in exchanges like Robinhood as well. So one thing you could see is that FTX's huge revenue, they had $1 billion in revenue. They could go in and they could potentially take over maybe a Robinhood, which has been very diminished right now, and they're in bad financial shape. Or maybe they'd take a larger stake in something like Coinbase, which has also been suffering. The share price for Coinbase has been going down a lot lately, and it's worth a lot less than it used to be. So, or they can acquire one of those, or they can partner up with one of those, and then from there, they can expand their influence in the U.S., because that's something that Sam Bankman-Fried really wants to do. It says one of Bankman-Fried's top priorities is expanding in the U.S. by attracting more retail customers. So based on that, I think everything's on the table here, and right now is a good time for them to be buying because everything's at a discount. All right, that's all I've got for you guys today. If you like this content, please let me know. Please like and subscribe and leave me a comment. I greatly appreciate that. And also follow me on YouTube and on Twitter. This is Cody the Coin Raptor, signing out.